You may have noticed someone with an amazing voice doing readings for me recently. Namely, the script from I Fixed the Dumbest Christian Analogy and the 36 questions from last week.
In a mother's womb were two babies. One asked the other, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" The other replied, "Why have..."
Oh, but anyway, the name behind this voice is Andey Fellowes, a great new YouTuber who focuses on cults and is just starting a series called Silly Cult Claims. And since this series is modeled after my Dumb Things People Say to Atheists series, they asked me to help kick it off. So I'm honored to join in for the first 2 episodes, the first on this channel and the second on Andey's later today. So make sure to head over at 6 p.m. Eastern to catch it. And as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to both of us, because I guess YouTube likes when you say that and is maybe more likely to recommend my video. So anyway, welcome to my channel, Andey.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And thanks for coming over and letting me join in the fun. Now, as I understand it, the law of attraction is what explains why I always end up surrounded by admirers the moment I walk into a bar. Is that roughly the idea?
I'm happy to be here, and no, that's not it. So the law of attraction, sometimes called the secret, is the idea that your thoughts create your reality. As in, if you think about it and you believe in it enough, then you can make anything happen. I say anything, usually it's money, abundance.
Ooh, I definitely enjoy abundance. So how does it work?
Well, in the words of the law of attraction proponent Jack Canfield, the law of attraction states that whatever you focus on, think about, read about, and talk about intensely, you're going to attract more of into your life. You create everything that happens to you.
So basically, my mind can literally bring things into existence?
Yep.
Sounds pretty straightforward, so let's give it a shot. I have a pony. I have a pony. Well, I don't know whether it shows on camera, but there's no pony. Huh. Now, for those of you who don't know me well, I didn't really think I was going to get a pony. It was just a sarcastic sketch. And of course, we all know there's nothing at all scientific about this concept. Yet it has an obvious appeal and can be made to seem plausible using certain intuitive-sounding half-truths. So for this first episode, we're going to be looking at an article called 6 Scientific Facts That Prove the Law of Attraction Exists that does just that. As we go over these, keep in mind what these points actually say and whether they give us any reason to believe your thoughts or words can actually bring things into existence or whether, I don't know, they're just yanking you around with wordplay. That said, Andey, why don't you kick this thing off for us?
Point number 1. The law of attraction has Platonic roots. As far back as 391 BC, the famous Greek philosopher Plato noted that like tends towards like. As you'll know, this is extremely close to the slogan "like attracts like," which encapsulates the key message of the law of attraction. Was anyone else expecting scientific studies? Yeah. Not quite. I mean, if it's kind of similar, then it's the same thing, right? I mean, this is the same level of reasoning as 2020 is the year of clear sight, or corona means crown in Latin. So we're all going through a rebirth at the moment on planet Earth, apparently. The sky is the sea because both the sea and the sky appear blue, and blue is for boys, apparently, and men invented aeroplanes. Therefore, the sky is the sea. You believe a thing, and then you take another thing, and then you just... They're not at all related, but if you smush them together, it kind of looks like they are. The final line on this, though, this encapsulates the core message of the law of attraction. Right, now, while that may be true, it's possibly... okay, sure, that's true, right? But that does absolutely nothing to prove that the law of attraction exists. It is not what it says on the tin. They say these are scientific proofs. The first point really isn't, as far as I'm concerned. At best, what it shows is that some bloke a long time ago thought something that people now also think. And nobody has ever taken something that someone else believed and used it to prop up their own biases before, ever in the world, ever in all of the history of the world ever. Point 2. The power of positive thinking has support in medical journals. One prominent example of scientific support for the law of attraction is in the Yonsei Medical Journal in 2007. Probably butchering these pronunciations. But let's go headlong into some more words I don't know how to pronounce. Korean researchers Ji Young et al. Found that there was a strong connection between positive thinking and overall life satisfaction in the population, which echoes the sentiments of scholars who suggest positive thinking exercises as a way to boost manifestation potential. As the authors of the medical journal article noted, these findings offer promise of positive thinking as an approach for psychological interventions designed to promote life satisfaction.
Okay, first off, what the is manifestation potential? I feel like there are two very different things it might imply your thoughts can do. One is that they can manifest certain behaviors or attitudes, which, that's just how your mind works. And the other is that they have some kind of ability to alter reality. And when I looked this up, most definitions were as fuzzy and ambiguous as my initial impressions. Andy, I know this one's my point to cover, but could you very briefly explain what people mean by manifestation potential?
I think what they mean is like what or how much you can manifest, like the quality of your manifestation. Think of manifestation as like a skill and what you can manifest as the fruits of your labor. Except in this instance, there's no labor really, not usually, just kind of wishy thinking.
It seems like this is just taking advantage of ambiguity in language. The idea that your thoughts have manifestation potential appeals to an obvious truism, that what you think about most can affect how you feel about life and how you behave. But by describing it with new agey sounding and vaguely understood language, in an article that's already suggesting your mind has magical power, it seems to be doing a little bait and switch where it tries to get you to confuse an obvious reality with weird nonsense. And I can see how a person could get shifted from one to the other, especially if they have any inclination toward the spiritual. Our thoughts filter and shape so much of the sensory input we take in around us, in a way building the world we inhabit inside our heads, that it's easy to get a gut-level feeling that exercises that affect the nature of this internalized reality are magically shaping actual reality. But distinguishing between the two is vital. And to avoid being tricked by New Age hucksters, you need to carefully measure out exactly what they're saying and what they've proven you can do, and not let them sneak in other insinuations. In this case, sift through point number 2 and look at what it actually said. That positive thinking can increase your life satisfaction. That's literally all. So if that's the point they want to make, great, I suppose. But then we need to make a hard stop right there. And if they want to make other claims, they need to introduce them and support them separately.
Point 3. Neurologists know visualization creates a better future. Scientists working at the Wellcome Trust Centre for Neuroimaging at the Institute of Neurology in London have discovered that people who visualize a better future are more likely to be able to bring that future into existence. This, of course, is just what the law of attraction tells us. It says that daily vivid mental images of a better life help to draw that life towards us. In the publication documenting their findings, the neurologists wrote, "The ability to construct a hypothetical scenario in one's imagination prior to it actually occurring may afford greater accuracy in predicting its eventual outcome." And because the Bible says not to touch dead things, it's definitely right about why that's such a bad idea, right? Again though, just because you agree with the science doesn't mean the way that you came to the same conclusion, if indeed this is the same conclusion, and I'm sure there's some nuances here that people haven't quite ironed out, just because you've arrived at the same conclusion doesn't mean that the way you got there is equally as valid. I think we're overlooking that here in writing this article, aren't we, a little bit? Yeah, so there's evidence that supports the assertion that envisioning what you're about to do makes it easier for you to do that thing better. But as far as I know, that's just kind of like basic knowledge right now. There's something that we all accept as fact. The quote's out of context here, though. It applies to mental practice improving your ability to perform a task, not to the universe conspiring in your favor to make it so you can get that car that you want or to manifest abundance. It could apply to how you go about attaining that abundance in your life, developing skills and so on and so forth. But at what point does the law of attraction come into it then? The entire process of mental practice and task past performance is body specific. And if a person does the right things in the right way, then there's no reason they can't get the abundance that they so desire. And that can be explained pretty well without the law of attraction coming into it. You don't need wishy thinking and quantum magic for that. This sentence that people who visualize a better future are more likely to bring that future into existence is so misleading. It is so vague that it hardly means anything at all. It's virtually a contentless statement. In what context are we visualizing a better future? In what way are we bringing that future into existence? It seems almost deliberately vague. At this stage, I think the author is really struggling to make their point, and to some extent, this feels like a distraction from how separate the 2 points really are. What they want to say and what they're trying to use to prop up what they want to say are there's a cat hair there, are so disparate, I think. Point 4. Psychologists support the use of affirmations. Affirmations, another key tool in your law of attraction arsenal, are also well supported in the psychological literature. For example, one researcher at the University of Exeter has published on constructive repetitive thought. They found that people who consistently tell themselves that they can meet a goal are more likely to secure a positive outcome. Affirmations are proven to help with recovery from trauma, improve anticipatory planning, aid treatment for depression, and boost physical health.
Honestly, it's hard to know what to say about this that I didn't already say about point 2, because this is just a reiteration of roughly the same idea. It's saying that affirmations, described here as repeatedly thinking positively or telling yourself you can do something, can be beneficial. And while it expands this idea from the general life satisfaction described in point 2 to the further claims we see here at the end, I get the impression this article is just padding out a few obvious observations about the power of positive thought and trying to make it sound more mystical than it really is. And even allowing that positive thought or affirmation does everything these claims say it does, let's point out that these are all about how your thoughts impact you internally. There's nothing supernatural about this, and it can be better understood in purely natural terms of setting constructive thought patterns. On top of that, you'll be much better off incorporating the practical side of this, including introspection on where your bad habits come from and how you might develop more constructive ones going forward. If you just close your eyes and think vague positive thoughts, you're likely to keep tripping over the same mistakes over and over, because you're not doing anything to anticipate or avoid them.
Point 5. Mirror neurons help to explain the spread of good vibrations. A large part of the law of attraction is learning how to be an open, happy person who vibrates on a high frequency and induces a positive response in others. The way in which we spread good attitudes towards other people and attract kindness, generosity, and success can be partly explained with reference to mirror neurons, neurons that mirror the behavior we observe. In other words, when someone sees you radiating positivity, the same response is mirrored in the brain of the observer. This can draw them to act positively towards you as well. Meanwhile, studies on the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, show that we can induce feelings of fear and anxiety in others if we ourselves are fearful or anxious. This is further evidence to explain the law of attraction theorists' claim that negative thinking can prevent success, well-being, love, and human connection. The use of good vibrations here is amazing. I love it. Frequency doesn't mean what you think it means here. It's a buzzword. High frequency, high vibration is supposed to mean good emotions. Basically what they're saying, right? When they say a happy person who vibrates on a high frequency and induces positive emotions in others, what they're really saying is a happy person who is happy makes other people happy. I would say that I don't know why they wouldn't just say what they really mean there. But I do know why they wouldn't just say what they really mean, or at least I think I know. It seems to me that we live in a world now where most people are more likely to trust something that has a scientific basis over something that doesn't have a scientific basis. So by adding sciencey sounding words in, they increase the possibility that people are going to take what they're saying seriously. It seems like they're appealing to the desire to trust in something more concrete and certain in an ultimately uncertain world, while rolling that in with scientific words so that the modern sensibilities that many of us possess are satisfied by those scientific words. Lifton talked about this a little bit in Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism under Sacred Science. But if this article doesn't read like a JW tract, I don't know what does. Now, I don't like going after people's writing styles or anything like that. You know, I'm a creative person. I don't like to go after other creative people. But there is something about the way that law of attractionists write that's so clunky and unwieldy. It just doesn't read like a person talks normally. Like, this is not how people talk. People don't talk like this. But then if you think that every single thought that you're having is gonna like notably affect your reality, then well, you're gonna be a bit uptight, right? Anyway, going back to like this mirror neurons thing. Mirror neurons are fascinating and they tell us so much about why we interact with each other the way that we do. I think they're fascinating on their own. They tell us so much on their own. You don't have to add in pseudoscience. You don't have to add in all this wooey, wishy thinking stuff. Alone, they're fascinating. Alone, they tell us so much. I don't know what this need is to shoehorn in the mystical with things that are, in and of themselves, fascinating. When all's said and done, the facts on this point do seem to align pretty nicely with what the law of attractionists are saying. But let's not forget that the reason that law of attractionists are saying that this works is because of energy, because of frequency, because of vibration, not mirror neurons. It's like me saying that pink elephants glow because they have magic hearts before I learn about bioluminescence, and then I learn about bioluminescence and I go, see, as if the existence of bioluminescence proves that pink elephants exist, glow because of bioluminescence, and have magic hearts. It's drivel. It's effectively, I think I'm right, and I'm just going to go out there and find anything that I can to prop up that argument, to provide proof that my ideas are true. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to find something that's not at all related, or only related in like the slightest, most indirect, nebulous way. And then I'm going to reel that in and I'm going to stick it there so it looks like it supports the most vacuous argument, even though it doesn't. Point 6. Geneticists show that limiting beliefs are inherited. You shouldn't feel guilty for your limiting beliefs, but rather work to identify and change them. Cutting-edge genetic research shows why you shouldn't blame yourself for the negative beliefs that can stop you from manifesting effectively. Specifically, scientists in Atlanta have found that when mice associated the sense of cherry blossom with an electric shock, they become so sensitive to that scent that they actually pass their fear to their offspring through their genetic code. This means that even mice that did not experience a shock will fear the scent of cherry blossom. Also, brain imaging studies show that this anxiousness is represented by the presence of different neurological receptors. So while you may have beliefs that are holding you back, you're not solely responsible for them, though you do have the power to overcome them. As the above suggests, academics from a wide range of fields have always been aware of some of the concepts that undergird the law of attraction, and there is increasing interest in finding new neurological evidence to support our ability to manifest what we want from life.
All right then. So the first obvious red flag here is the scientists in Atlanta have found part. I mean, come on. You couldn't try harder to make this sound like one of those urban legends your great aunt won't stop sharing on Facebook. You know, a famous professor at a university once discovered that there are 500 chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea, and one of them has "Moses was here" carved on it. I mean, names, dates, and references, people. Or at least the name of the fucking school. Just saying scientists in Atlanta and cutting-edge research shows goes beyond lazy and sounds like you're laughing at your readers behind their backs. But beyond the fact that we're given no way to evaluate this study or take the allusion to it as anything other than a joke, I see two issues with it. First, like I said before, even if limiting beliefs can be passed on through the genes, all we're describing is an internal thought process. The mice passed on fear of cherry blossom smells, not psionic powers. Yet this point, true to form, takes a natural, if questionable and unsighted phenomenon and throws in allusions to manifesting in hopes of making a mundane reality sound vaguely mystical. And second, any little impulses parents might pass down to their kids genetically absolutely pale in comparison to the attitudes and habits they pass down through their parenting. So along with everything else this article does wrong, it trains its readers to turn their focus away from deliberate, realistic life planning and instead think in uselessly vague sentiments centered around equally vague pseudoscience. Anyway, this all just sounds weird and depressingly similar to Christianity, at least in the way it manipulates people with language and obscures clear decision-making, and I'm pretty sure I've seen elements of this creep into some modern Christian circles. I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, a surprising amount of the New Age feels like Christianity repackaged, like crystals as crucifixes, prayer and the law of attraction, Jesus replaced by randos on the internet who think they know stuff, God replaced by ideas like we are all powerful creators and you are the universe experiencing itself subjectively for a while, and the ocean in a drop and all of that. All sold to us on the similar promise of salvation using sciencey sounding words to appeal to our modern sensibilities. But it's not always as simple as it seems. There are rules to it sometimes, and that's actually what we're going to be looking at in part 2 of this series over on my channel. Cheers for having me, Zod. I appreciate it.
And be sure to head over to Andey's channel to join us for part 2 of this exciting series, premiering today at 6 p.m. Eastern. See you there. This program was made possible by a grant from S.R. Foxley, Bob Generic, Nem Morris, Connor Emsley, Susan Schindler-Loreto, and Q, and by the generous support of viewers like you. If you'd like to join them in pledging to this channel, please find a link to the Prophet of Zod Patreon below.